And hello, friends. We're back. I see we have a couple of new follows. Thank you, friends, so much for those follows. Even though we were offline, we greatly appreciate that support. And we're going to party hard tonight because you guys, we have the one and only Mr. Steve Builds in the house. Little round of applause. Cats aren't in the room either. Otherwise, we'd applaud the kitty cats too.
I'm hoping you show up.
Yes, we know.
Trying to entice
We
them,
know how to get the family together. We love it. Well, how are you doing, friend? How's your week going?
Busy.
You guys, I hope you had a fantastic start to your week and a happy hump day. We are right there at the tail end of the week, so it's going to be a good time. Sit, grab your little snacky snacks, grab a drink, and relax. And we're going to sit here with Steve and say hello and talk a little 3D printing, talk a little travel, talk some tools, and some cat talk, of course.
Apparently, it's just going to keep freezing.
So I usually get the emotes in chat when they're like, hey, just to let you know, there's a really freaking loud siren that you don't hear, but we all hear. So I know to be quiet. Pausing. That's right, Bob. He gets it. He's starting off strong tonight. You love it. Dang, no cats. Not at the moment, Twisty Brain, but I'm sure there will be cats. There will be cats. That is a weapon and a half. Will it actually show? It will. I was going to say, will it show in StreamYard? I have an emote of a squirrel butt. There's really no explanation for it. They're like, there's no story behind it. It's just a squirrel butt, and we just think it's hysterical. So when the cats come in, just know I'm absolutely going to stop everything to say hello to the kitty cats, and I apologize for that. I'm so happy to be back. It feels like something missing in your life when you're a streamer and you're not doing the streams on the normal days. It's you like what am I missing? Like tapping yourself for your purse and your phone and your keys, and you're like, I feel like I'm missing something. But that feeling doesn't go away. Sticks around the entire day, and it's a bad feeling. So, oh my goodness, this feels right. Feels good to see you all in chat. So if someone by chance for some odd reason is in my chat and doesn't know who you are, would you like to introduce yourself and what you do?
So I'm Steve. I am a maker, builder. I am a member of the Voron design team. I am responsible for the Trident, at least the evolution of the Voron 1 into the Trident and what you know as it now. I have had my hands in all of the Voron printers and designs. I also run a YouTube channel where I very much enjoy getting up in front of folks, and my screen froze in a very odd face. Getting up in front of folks and showing them how I go through a build process. So Steve Builds on YouTube. I've been doing that for over 3.5 years now. I think I'm probably somewhere around 300 videos.
Oh, wow.
Live streams usually stream for 3 to 6 or 7 hours at a time. I focus on community builds. I tend to stay away from things that are tend to stay away from things that are pre-manufactured, pre-built. So I really enjoy building like the Vorons, the Mercury ones, the VZ bots, the even more grassroots community builds like the Tic Tac. Missing a bunch of them, the Milo CNC, that kind of thing. But we also have gone into some printer-based projects. So like the RC cards you might see behind me. We tend to do those on member streams and then make them public later type stuff.
Awesome. What made you want to start streaming? Like one of those I've always wanted to and someone pushed you into it, or was it did you lose a bet? Who got you to hit the go live first on YouTube? Because that's a big deal to decide to live stream something as personal as your build projects. So what made you want to share your skill sets with the world?
I would have never thought. Ask me 5 years ago, I would have said, nah, I'm not. I don't have a face for live streaming. I don't have a personality. I'm telling you. Years ago, I was doing some projects and thought, it'd be really cool to do a blog or something. Never got around to it. A blog's a lot of work. Something like that, my personality just wouldn't be able to keep up. I'm doing projects around the house. I was building a shed. I thought it would be really nice to document that process, that kind of thing. Years go by and I get into starting to do some of this and got into the Voron group and got a Voron Zero that I decided to stream the build on Discord. So within a Discord stream. And that was a one shot, 10 hours of sitting down and building a Voron Zero in front of a Discord audience. But that is quite limiting because Discord's limited to 25 people when you're streaming video. When we got to the point where Trident was ready to be released, I had just done this Voron Zero build the previous month, and I decided I wanted to go through and show people how to build it. And I had this idea that I really needed it to be interactive. So I did it in Discord, recorded, and then uploaded to YouTube. Tried that for, I think, 3 streams. Progressively, I was doing it a little different. So the very first stream was in Discord only, then uploaded the recorded video to YouTube later. And then I think I was doing it simultaneous live to YouTube, but through Discord. And what I quickly realized is that I didn't want to, although I liked the audible interaction from people, hearing questions and talking about them, I didn't think I would be able to follow chat. I didn't want to have to read chat and follow it. I thought I really wanted to just hear and interact, but then I found that I was feeling like I had to interrupt to say what I needed to say. And so I switched over to a full just YouTube streaming, interacting with chat, and that ended up working out way better than I thought it would. It was a much better experience where I could say whatever I wanted and get to questions when I could get to them, instead of having a question interrupt or feeling like I had to interrupt while someone was talking or 2 other people were talking to each other.
That can definitely be a thing. Yeah, it's not uncommon to have people be really apprehensive to start streaming, but you adapted pretty well. Now 3.5 years almost you've been working on it, you guys. So you started with the streaming 3.5 years ago, but I have a feeling, I have an idea that you haven't just started like making stuff within the last 3.5 years. Have you been a lifelong maker, artist? What really got you into, you said you kind of initiated with 3D printing, but is that like in the maker space, is that where you started?
I've always been absolutely fascinated with electronics and building things and how things work. And growing up, I remember making and following, I don't remember what sources, but following instructions on making like magnetic coils out of varnish insulated copper wire and batteries and making little motors. And I would take a 2x4 and some nails and make this whole little like Ruth Goldberg contraption of electronics things that are going on. And of course, as probably many people relate to, taking apart my toys as a kid, wanting the motor that was in that toy more than I wanted the toy.
Right. Wanted that speaker box so you could throw it onto another toy or see if you could put it back together. Sure. Yeah. What was some of the the inspiration you had when you were younger? What kind of shows did you watch, or what kind of, did you have any like magazines? I know, I'm like age myself here real quick, guys.
I never had any magazines. I mean, what was really nice, reading Rainbow, honestly. LeVar Burton, going to on the different things that he did. I remember there was like an RC car episode where they were going and they were like carpet racing and they were showing the details of how these cars were built. There was another episode where they were doing indoor like super light, super slow airplanes that just fascinated me. I was building my own. I used to make airplanes out of the styrofoam that hamburger meat comes on.
Yes. Yeah.
Those were a major source of project material for me because I used to make boats. So I would take a little DC motor and I would take another DC motor that didn't work anymore, and I'd take the stator apart. And that stator is 3 arms, right? And if you unwind them and take that the laminations of that stator apart, and then bend the arms in such a way that you make a prop out of it, stick that to the end of the shaft, and put a battery on it. And I had a little boat that would move around in the bathtub.
I was a Bill Nye kid. I was definitely a Bill Nye kid. Yeah, LeVar Burton also practically raised me for half of my life. I was a huge book kid. Man, a lot of PBS. Lots of PBS.
Yeah. PBS was wonderful. My grandma bought me one year I don't know if anybody remembers it's electronics kits. And it's this board that's sectioned out into different components. And you would have a capacitors and resistors and a speaker and a transistor and a photovoltaic cell and all this other stuff. And it had little coils on it, and you would bend those to the side and stick a wire in and then run it over to whatever else you're making a connection to. And it had a book with all these different projects you could do. So that was another really cool as a kid thing.
Did it come in like a red casing?
I remember a lot of blue on mine, but I know there have been iterations of them over time. They got to the point where you could like snap circuits together. Like I bought my son one when he was younger, but I think you did more snapping things together. This was, I think it was probably a Radio Shack project thing. I could be.
Radio Shack.
Yeah, I actually hadn't read Clownhammer's comment, but that's exactly what it was. They called it the 150-in-1 kit or the 100-in-1. They had different sizes of them. This will share, but this is pretty much I think maybe a little older version of this, but this is right on with what I was playing with.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. I think mine was in like a little briefcase type box, but it was something similar. It's very cool. You guys remember the chemistry kits that we should not have had? None of us were responsible. This was not safe. We had the chemistry kit. There was like a rock tumbler, I want to say, that like anything but rocks went into that tumbler. The rock
I used to love
amazing.
Rocks. Like gems and geodes and yeah.
Just always had rocks in my pocket. Neurodivergence, where you at? All my other neurodivergent friends like, yep, I was a rock kid.
That would be an interesting question out to like the Twitterverse or whatever of picture yourself at 12 years old, empty your pockets, what's in them?
Yes, mom kept buying me those chemistry kits. I love that for you. We had fun with them. We definitely got them taken away once they saw what we were doing with them. But yeah, they were fun while we had them. Totally had a rock collecting phase. Let's go.
My grandma was a big enabler of all of this, which was wonderful. Yeah,
I love this.
So she would, push on any of the hobbies I would get into, the rocks or dinosaurs. You know, the little laser wood dinosaurs where you take them apart and make a little 3D dinosaur out of them.
Yeah.
I remember those came out when I was a kid.
So who else did you have in your life that encouraged you?
My grandma was huge on that. My dad was a mechanic, so he was always building and making stuff. Being around him when he's working on a car or crafting, they did a lot of. He was into the black powder pioneer type clubs where they would fabricate their own period clothing and equipment and then go out and hang out and have shooting competitions and stuff like that. The process of actually making all of that stuff, I was exposed to everything from leather working to woodworking to inlaying brass into wood to
that fed into the obsession chat, and that's why he's still here, still making stuff and tearing it apart. And the RC cars. Can I ask about the RC cars? I'm so interested. There's a couple in the background. I see one out of this very sexy color back there. I just want to point out the best color, you guys, if anyone wants to see. We're going to petition Protopasta to start making this. Look at this, you guys. Look at that. Is that not the most yummy color? So that's actually the same color that he's got right there. If you guys have been hanging out on his YouTube channel to see his RC builds, which if you're not, I'm going to have him explain a little bit to us of his RC passion while I plug in his YouTube link in chat.
So I think RC cars has always been that hobby that kind of tickles a lot of build itches, play with electronics, assembly, suspension, cars. I've always been into cars. And then you go out and drive them. Now, I do a lot less of the driving than the building. I have a lifelong habit of getting an RC car kit and building it and then setting it on the shelf and lusting after the next RC car kit.
Seen a couple of videos this week, but it kept coming up into my feed of like, why are so many adults are spending so much money on kids' toys? Like this is some kind of apparently like this new thing that our generation has accepted and celebrates. I was gonna say, exactly, it's not new. We're just pretty open about it. We just don't care what our parents think about us still doing this. Why are you still spending money on video games? Oh, I don't know, because I love it. Yeah, I think that's kind of fun. That, I mean, like, you have your very serious tools, your very serious machines that we take very seriously, especially with safety, right, chat? Always. But I think it's fun that as adults that we give ourselves and others permission to kind of have fun with stuff in life. Then we're not like, no, you're not allowed any more fun. The fun is done. No, right. You can make anything. You can do anything. So have you heard anyone say that? Or has anyone ever said that in your channel or brought that up to you? He's like, they don't dare. They see the beard and he's like, he's an authority. Don't mess with him. Absolutely not.
But I've never stopped. I mean, from as soon as I could afford to buy my own RC car kit all the way through today, I mean, I build. Now, I haven't thought about buying a kit because this has taken that place. These are full 3D printed. Then you buy some fasteners and a motor and electronics, and it's a nicely drawn out process here. With the RC car kits, I'd buy a kit, be all excited about it and all the leading up to it, and I'd have it build in like 3 hours, and then it's done.
And it's all done. Aw, you like to savor the build, right? You like to keep it going for as long as we can.
Enjoy the build.
Did you ever build any of the, is it Heathkit stuff?
I knew about Heathkit. I never had any of them. And I did race. Very little.
Oh, did you? You did? Okay.
Yeah, RC car stuff.
How do you find groups like that? Do you like find local groups online that race each other? Is there like a very official way to do it?
No online at the time.
No, there was online at the time.
There was online at the
library parking lot. Cool.
But it was mostly just the local RC shops. So a lot of local RC shops are going to be affiliated or have a track. And there was one here, and we'd go and hang out on practice days. And you go to enough practice days running around the track and kind of getting the feel for how to drive around a track. And and then you start getting the itch to do a race day. And I ended up doing one race day. And there was a lot of prep to that. That was a lot of fun because with these hobby class and racing RC cars, you're changing camber, caster toe, the particular geometry of the suspension, depending on how you want the vehicle to react.
So when you were younger, growing up, what did you want to do?
Up until, and this was very consistent from a very young age, up until probably my preteens, astronaut.
Yeah, heck yeah.
That's all I wanted to be, was an astronaut. I had no idea what that actually meant. I just wanted to be an astronaut.
Of course. Most kids, we don't understand what goes into any of that. But yeah, I love that you have that very like wholesome childlike sense of wonder about the world and about things and about making things. But one thing I noticed about Steve, you guys, if no one has noticed in chat, I'm sure you have if you've hung out in his channel for a minute, that you're a very patient human. Like more so than a lot of other content creators. So many of us are very spastic. I feel like Steve is just steady going and he's set and he gets locked in on something and he sees projects all the way through. Like you guys see Grandmaster Steve, right? Yeah. Grandmaster Steve over here. He does. He locks in on these projects because you can see that like his interest in it. And it's like, we just get to go along for the ride. I think it's so important for other people to see that side of content creators that not all of us are, right, as ADD and neurodivergent as the rest of us in that way, at least with that one thing about us. Have you always been that way?
No,
Have you always been a very calm, patient human?
I think I've found the thing, and I think I found it at the right time in my life to be able to regulate, right? So, and you said something before about completing projects and stuff. Streaming is really what has gotten me to complete more projects than I ever have in my life.
Oh, okay. It's been a positive peer pressure in your life then.
Yeah, yeah. There is very much a aspect of ADHD here. Um, don't get me wrong, but this is one of the triggers that has kind of let me, or the environment that's kind of let me get into a flow of things to whatever degree I can. There's
Yeah.
still other things that there's projects upon projects that don't get finished, but the pressure and commitment to doing it on a regular basis in front of people has been a good thing for me.
What are some of the other good things that have come out of streaming for you, streaming your projects on YouTube?
I think getting used to doing stuff like this. I wouldn't have even thought I could come on and talk about myself and interact with people in the way that I do. And
Yeah? Okay.
yeah, I'm always the one that's always been super afraid to get up in front of people and talk. And,
No
and
way.
yeah,
I would
huge.
not guess that.
Uh,
Really? Like, so in
yeah.
person too? Like if you were ever in school and you had to present something, were you
Oh, that
you're
was
just about
torture.
presenting things?
Yeah, that was
Really? I would
torture.
never expect that.
Yeah.
Were you a pretty shy person growing
Yeah,
up?
yeah. And it's kind of interesting if I think back over the years, I can pinpoint a few cases where folks have told me I should do something like this. I was in a management class
Mm,
through work, and it's a group thing. You do in your projects, and you have things, and you have to do a presentation and stuff. And I got a pretty good talk from the instructor after our presentation, saying you have a really good way of communicating what you're trying to say there in front of people. And that's just one of those things I kind of brushed off, and I don't think so, but and then I have a friend who told me at some point not too long ago that, hey, you should try doing something on YouTube and show some of your projects or whatever. And this was a few years before I got into 3D printing, and didn't really, kind of brushed it off. And but yeah, I mean, up until actually doing it and getting into getting comfortable with it, I would not have thought I wouldn't have been able to get in front of people. And I think it kind of helps having a camera in between.
sure.
But even getting
Buffer.
out there at the events and seeing people in person, it's some of the first ones are a little more awkward, a little more nervous. But I think it gets better each one I go to.
Speaking of some of those
Yeah,
in-person events, I'm just like gonna be blown away but by you saying that you were a shy guy like at any point. That's wild to me, but very cool. I feel the same way about there being a buffer. I'm sure we all, it's like, the camera's on, you have to be like on, right? We're live, you got to
yeah,
be on, you're presenting in a certain way. It's still us, just like a more refined version of us, but it definitely helps that you're not staring. Yeah,
yes.
that's someone right there in your face, just like, "Hi, I have to be
Mhm.
entertaining," like the sweat beads start up. But yeah, meeting people in person, can be different, or presenting in person can be very different. The fact that we have a camera that we know we can shut off at any time too. I kind of feel like that's a trick too, is I can pull the cord at any second if everything goes wrong. We can
Mhm.
just light this thing ablaze and walk away from it, but you can't do that in person so much. But I agree with you that getting to meet our friends and fellow makers and content creators in person is one of the greatest joys of doing
Yeah,
this. Getting to make friends and hanging out with people and getting that one-on-one time and finally getting to meet them and give them a high five or a hug is pretty awesome. So you've been doing some traveling lately, and you've
yeah,
been getting to go to some really cool places. Do you want to talk about your latest trip to TCT?
yeah. So a few of us had the opportunity, thanks to Big Tree Tech, to visit China, and I think at pretty much the perfect time. I'm glad we were able to go when we did, and we were invited to go to TCT Asia, which is in Shanghai, and that is a trade show in the additive manufacturing realm where um, it's very similar. So let me back up just a little bit. So
Okay.
I've been to quite a few shows now. Huge thanks to the my community on YouTube, and that has enabled me to be able to go to as many shows as I have. Um, but going to the RepRap festivals and the maker fairs and the trade shows And ahead of going to TCT Asia, I had been to Rapid TCT in Los Angeles almost exactly a year ago, last June, and then Formnext in Germany last fall. And those were the first two trade shows in the space that I'd been to. So getting an opportunity to see the difference between a trade show and a RepRap festival and a maker fair, just focusing on trade shows, I think TCT Asia was surprisingly similar. I was actually surprised at how little different I saw there. What was cool about it and different was more the companies that don't necessarily come over here to the US that you get to see. And then there's a pretty large Voron fan base in China that we were able to see, meet, and hear their appreciation for the designs and stuff.
That's cool.
It was really very much about the people at TCT Asia rather than the things that were there. Because really the things are almost the same stuff as we see in that I saw at Formnext and at TCT Asia. But meeting some of the folks that I interact with at like Mello, I hadn't seen them before, but I got to meet the CEO and the folks that I interact with that are designing the parts that they're producing, and Fadis, and a few Fadis folks have come over to the US, but not all of them. You can see some of the other folks, and the other members of Big Tree Tech that you might interact with on whatever level and be able to meet them in person. And then the community members and some of the other content creators from that part of the world that you don't see on platforms that we have here. You got Billy and others.
Have you done a lot of traveling or any traveling prior to doing RepRap festivals and shows?
I mean, a little bit, but just in the U.S. I'd never been outside the U.S. before going to San J. Mortimer RepRap Festival, the first one. I mean, basically 18 months ago or whatever was the first time I'd been out of the U.S.
So wow, your first time out of the U.S. That's a big deal. Yeah. I mean, I still see. I just mentioned this to someone the other day that back when I was working in the hospital, I was working with these people that were like, I've literally never left this state before.
Yeah.
I like that is why, like, my brain literally stopped. I was buffering like the rest of the day, just processing that one fact. Just like, people have never left the state that they live. That's wild to me, especially because we literally were like right at the border of where we were when someone said that to me. But yeah, so like that is, I mean, that's a big deal. Some people haven't left the state that they were born and lived in, and some people haven't left the country. So like, that's a big step.
I mean, throughout my life, I've traveled to many areas in the U.S. and I've driven like between California and Illinois a few times. We took our son to Washington, went through the museums there and such. My wife and I went to Florida on our honeymoon to Disney World.
Yay! Yeah, happiest place on earth. That's what they say.
So various. I mean, I haven't been to every state, but I've been to various areas in the U.S. We went to Hawaii about 10 years ago as a family trip, that kind of thing. But as far as outside the U.S., where we needed a passport, both my wife and we got our passports for the first time to go to Oxford for the San J. Mortimer RepRap Festival.
What were some of like the biggest shocks that you had leaving the country for the first time?
It helped that we went to England, right? So a much more, I mean, the language wasn't a barrier. The shocks were mostly in like the age of things and getting around especially in Oxford and some of the taverns and stuff that have been there for many hundreds of years. And yes, I will be at Murph. So.
Fantastic. Are you an adventurous eater? Are you a picky eater?
I am not. I like to eat and I like to try things. There are very few things that I absolutely don't like or won't eat. And I don't know that I could mention any specific thing right now.
Know someone that is at the place where you're going that can give you some like local person advice, right? And then travel with someone who eats like you.
I will say I'm a wimp on spice. However, in Shanghai, we went to a Szechuan hot pot place and it was delicious. and it was
Oh my
very
god,
hot,
yes.
but it's a
Worth
different,
it.
I feel like it's a different heat than some of the hot sauces I've had.
Do you cook at all? Are you into the cooking thing?
No, I mean,
It's a lot.
I get a reputation at work for baking, peanut butter cookies. It's just the
Ooh,
Betty Crocker recipe. I
okay.
don't know, but people love it,
Mm,
so I'm expected to cook those on certain people's birthdays and
okay.
certain things,
It's
so
expected of you, that's wild. Man, peanut butter cookies,
I
that's a
love peanut
staple
butter.
right there.
I
I
love
love
peanut butter
I'll say,
cookies.
we're a huge peanut
Reese's,
butter family.
yeah.
Yeah, if there's a peanut butter option, like, if there's chicken and waffles on the menu, I'm getting that, and if there's a peanut butter option, like, one of the other ones is definitely getting that. Peanut
Mhm,
butter all day, we love that.
yeah.
Yeah, cooking's a lot, that's a whole I'd say, like, a whole other hobby. That's more than a hobby, that's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
Learning to cook is I mean, it's intensive. There's a reason why people become pro chefs because it's a lot of
Mhm.
intensive information. I can't imagine being a maker and being a chef both, which is funny because Cookie Cat
Okay.
actually has done that. So the
That's
traveling
baking, right?
was good. I would say baking's so fun. It's so fun. I love it. It's like you don't have to like there's no feel for it. I like the whole systematic. You give me the recipe, I follow it. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like I don't have to like do this to taste. Like what does that mean?
Oh,
Whose
right.
taste? What don't do that to me. It just gives me anxiety. Give me the instructions, I'll follow them to a T. I'll nail it. But yeah, I love eating out while we're out and traveling. So you got to go to England, you got to
Yeah,
China, and then Germany. So did you get to go
yeah.
explore while you were there, or was it some trips are like you got to go to the thing and then you're like right back out? But did you take a little bit of time for yourself to go and explore the areas that you got to travel to?
Well, Big Tree Tech was excellent. They were with us pretty much the whole time, which was awesome. We didn't have to worry about any challenges with language or whatever. So we had Big Tree Tech with us, and they took us to spots like we went to an older area of Shanghai, and went through little markets there and
Cool.
experienced that. We went to downtown or the business center, Shanghai, with the Pearl Tower, which is that a radio tower or was originally a radio tower, but went to the top of that. That was the only elevator I've ever been on where I had to pop my ears on the way up. It was very fast and went up to 350 meters or something.
Wow.
Yeah. And
Dang.
I am a big chicken when it comes to heights, and they
Oh
had a
no.
transparent observatory floor
Oh no.
level, and I
Were
forced
you just on
myself
your
to go out
hands
on
and
there.
knees
I
crawling
I
out there?
I'll send you a video. You
No,
can see
poor
the
Steve.
discomfort on my face.
Oh, no. Oh, but you were brave and you did it, right? That's
I did it.
amazing.
I did it.
Oh, indeed.
Airplanes don't bother me. Being at the top floor there, looking
Yeah.
out at the city doesn't bother me. But apparently, standing on top of a glass floor, as
Yeah.
dirty and grummy
It's
as it
something
is,
else.
grimy as it is, I can still see the ground from there, and it's right below my feet, and that's not right.
Amazing. So I have to ask about Creamy. This
Oh,
is a
my
YouTube
wife
inside
bought a
joke.
Ninja Creamy, and oh yeah,
Does she
she
love
has been
it?
experimenting, and I have reaped the benefits.
I think Bob has one too, right? Because he makes like
Hmm.
hyper specialized ones and wasps. Oh my gosh, yeah. I'm with you there. But do you have anxiety flying? Yeah, see, I don't get it flying
No,
either. I used to when I was
mm-mm.
younger, but the older I get, the more science the more science that I looked into. I was like, actually, we're pretty safe up here, so I'm good. We're set. Helicopters is another story, though. I was actually quite uncomfortable flying in the helicopter. The few
I've
times I
been
took
on one.
patients on helicopters, I was like, hate this.
Doesn't
I thought
sound good to me.
oh man, yeah, trying to give medical care and like the rockiest, bumpiest, most uncomfortable. Yeah, it was not good. Do not recommend. Do not recommend.
I think I
Um,
went on a flight on an airplane when I was a baby, according to my parents, but then I didn't fly until I was an adult. So that might help
that might have helped.
that
Yeah, that's
I
true.
already had a reasonable brain by the time I was
I
first on
love
a
that.
plane that I remember anyway.
The creamies, that's so funny. I would love to man, I mean, I live in a space where there's food available to me everywhere, so I feel like I don't always have to make it, but I've heard a lot of people actually talk about the Ninja and say that they love it, so
There's a lot of prep that goes into it. You kind of have to freeze your concoction ahead of time, and then you mix it, and then you put in your mix-ins, and
What's been your favorite so far that she's made? Like the 10 out of 10 flavor?
I mean, I always like the Oreo based ones, put an Oreo in there, but there's some interesting things when you start using yogurts as a base instead of just a regular, like similar to ice cream base or whatever.
Coconut cream and stuff. Yeah,
She
different
made an eggnog
alternatives.
one. She did make an eggnog one, and
Eggnog?
I'm a
I
huge
love
fan of eggnog.
eggnog.
I am
Eggnog all
always
day.
looking for that. You know, some of the eggnogs out there on the store shelves are just not very good. So I'm always looking for that craft eggnog that's just going to blow me away. So I spend way too much money on eggnog when I get in the mood during the holidays.
All right, guys, you hear it, holiday time. Let us know. We want to hear some reviews. We want some pictures of labels. Tag us on Twitter and Blue Sky if you guys aren't following us already. I'm so sorry, friend. All this food talk. I was getting everyone talking about food when they're in here. I apologize as I'm telling everyone, grab your snacks, grab your drinks, come sit and hang out with us. I love that you said that even though it was like shows versus RepRaps versus, being here and being abroad, it still kind of has that same vibe. That's interesting because I was like absolutely sure you were going to say it's totally different. It's a whole different world. But I kind of love that there's this common denominator of getting to meet those people. That's what really defines the experience. And I think it's very neat. Someone else brought it up in chat. And of course, I'm going to bring it up. You have a new toy back there. Do you want to tell everyone what showed up?
You have a new toy. So I am constantly striving to build my ultimate maker shop, right? So even before doing 3D printers, before whatever, I'm always about the tool. What is the next tool that is going to enable me to make something? But really, it ends up being about the tool. I have more fun building like the crosscut sled for my table saw than using it.
Table saws scare the crap out of me.
Yes, I have been bitten by a table saw.
Have you? Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's nightmare fuel right there.
I came out of it very lucky. And you see, I have all of my finger, well,
I do,
99% of my fingers. This one's missing a tiny little bit. Towards that, I've decided, because of one of the folks in chat here, ultimately, to purchase a manual mill. Now, I like manual processes, even though as much as we are into computer controlled processes. I do a lot of binge watching, like Inheritance Machining and Blondie Hacks and Clow 42. All these, I really like that process of working with material with these kinds of tools and ordering a manual mill. And it's the same one that Blondie Hacks uses right now. It's Precision Matthews. It's not a big mill. It's not, but it is capable to the point I think I need.
So what do you have in store? I'm sure it's not for one project that you get a whole new tool, right? You have like a couple things in mind or a need that you have there that you're trying to fulfill, right? With these new tools.
There's parts of the workflow that I think are best served by that manual mill. In 3D printing, we use a lot of extrusions to square off the end of an extrusion and make a bunch of extrusions exactly the same length. Going through with this machine is going to be far quicker than any CNC machine. Locating cross holes, that kind of stuff are going to be far quicker. But it'll also be part of the workflow in working with like the CNC machines, not a point off camera, but the Cascade, the new Voron thing is sitting right here next to me, because I can take a piece of material and prep it to put into a CNC machine to then make something a little more complicated. The whole idea of just workshop capability, and that adds to it. And a few years ago, I bought this one here, and my video froze up, of course. A really nice drill press that is another simple machine that serves a very diverse purpose in the most basic foundational building.
Awesome. I see it's all red. That's intense packaging too. Are you going to do like a big unveiling unboxing, or are you just going to tear into that after stream tonight?
You know what? Bob's a bad influence.
Oh,
yeah, because, and maybe it was Bob or someone in the chat asked if I was going to stream that, and I had thought no, I wasn't going to stream it because it takes a lot of focus to unbox that and get it set up. And I'm kind of thinking maybe I might.
Did he peer pressure you? Bob.
A little bit.
Bob.
But they brought up a good method we might be able to use. We might have someone else here come over and help me. And if we have a third person handling chat, then we can focus on unboxing and showing off the unboxing without me having to always be scanning chat.
Yeah, I think you should make Bob do it. Yep.
Yeah.
Bob, you kind of volunteered yourself by doing that, bud.
It was Viking's idea.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, we should make Viking do it. Viking, you can do chat.
Actually, the third person in chat was Bob's idea. So.
Oh, okay. Okay. Then yeah, like I said,
that's how
Bob,
I'm going to choose to remember it anyway.
That's on you. You bring the ice cream. Voluntold to help. Yeah, you bring the ice cream, and
maybe that's
you can take care of chat. That's the exchange that's going to have peanut butter cookies or ice cream. I guess, Oh, chat. Does that mean that we're going to get peanut butter cookies at a RepRap festival?
Oh boy, I did open
only one person. It has to be like what? All right, sorry, chat. I love you, but like, get out of here. They're mine. I will fight every last one of you for those cookies, especially when I'm traveling. Man, that makes me extra hungry. Be like only one person a year is allowed to get the cookies, so that way we don't overwhelm Steve.
It's probably about twice a year I make them.
Okay, twice a year. You hear that, chat? So like Smurf and like and Earth or
well, that ends up being like 4 times a year because I can't ignore my people here. Okay. Still have to make them for them.
Right. Okay. All right. So 3 times a year now. We're upping it. We're upping the game. Oh my God. I just had a brilliant idea.
Huh?
Make peanut butter cookies, but then the wife can make some vanilla ice cream, and then we can do like peanut butter cookie ice cream.
I've gotten peanut butter cookie creamies.
Yeah. Dang it. Now I want peanut butter cookies. Someone put peanut butter cookie recipe in chat. Who was that? I feel like that was Bearded Printer. How dare you leave us something so wonderful and easy in chat, because now I'm going to go make them in a little bit. That sounds fantastic. Do you know what? I'll make my version and you make your version, and we can do a swap so that way it's even. And we're not just like overwhelming Steve with bringing all the cookies for everyone at a RepRap.
I think the next thing we'll be at is 3D Printopia.
That's my that's my jam. That's the one that I go to every year. So I haven't been able to make the others.
I haven't bought any tickets, but I'm planning on going.
We'll have a cookie. We'll have a bake-off. Everyone with a peanut allergy is like, girl, stop. Like right now. I hate you so much. Knock it off. I'm so sorry. I can't help but feel like that would be like something else fun to do at a RepRap festival that's not necessarily 3D printing related, but still fun. New channel idea. Steve bakes. I know.
I only bake one
whole thing. Look out. He only makes one thing, but it's apparently very good. So like, I just want to live my best life and test that theory. Cookie Cat's going to be there. So I kind of feel like you can't leave Cookie Cat out of it. Do you know how many peanut butter cookies you can fit in those droids, Luke? That's how you can bring them. Yeah.
We can fix a cookie to a Cocoa Press and print chocolate on top of them.
Oh my God. You guys, this is a think tank. This started as an interview. It turned into a think tank. I love it. See, look at that. Now we have the cops coming after us. It's like, stop talking about cookies in chat. No, we're so sorry. What other things do you have coming in the future? Because we have an unboxing. Thanks to Bob. Thanks, Bob. We appreciate it. Well, she can at least like program that. We'll keep it away from her. We promise. They have to be going under my window. Really? Calm down. Need to print a floppy cookie using Cookie Cat filament. Why I have not thought about that? I don't know, but you're welcome. Will we ever see Britt at a Smurf? I hope so. I would love that. We almost did 2 years ago. Was that now, Bob? Yeah, that got canceled last minute. Family stuff came up, but almost. That's this close. But I'd love to go again. Steve, are you planning to do Smurf again in the future?
Oh, yeah.
That's going to be a regular part of the schedule now, huh?
I think so. I've been to
very exciting.
I didn't go to the first kind of not official first Smurf, but I've been to the 2 since, and I think April will end up with me in the next one.
Cool.
Because it's a different part of England. We can take a little extra time, go up into Scotland and do a little touring around. That's what we did when we went to the first Smurf. We went to Oxford and then spent a few days in London afterwards.
Cool.
This last fall, she went with me to Form Next, and we started that trip in Prague. Spent a couple of days in Prague and then went over to Germany, finished it off there. So
beautiful travels. Those are all wonderful places to go.
yeah.
They're doing Smurf 25 to move the date. What are they?
Yeah.
Is that?
They're moving it to March.
Is that true?
March of 2026.
Oh,
I think it's the weekend of the 9th. I have spent my last 2 birthdays in the UK though.
Oh, did you?
So,
oh, that's so fun.
Yeah.
Well, that's a fun little birthday shebang. I should stop by Steve's stream someday to tell everybody hi. I am. I'm in there all the time.
I've seen you stop by.
I'm the obnoxious lady who makes random cat comments when everyone else is talking about something else. I always bring it back to the cats. Typically where you'll see me. I derailed my own conversation by me talking about cookies to come back around to be like, oh, that's right. That was me that just derailed that whole thing. I apologize, Steve. So you have an unboxing coming up soon. What other fun things do we have in the future? What month are we in now? We're in May, almost June.
Yeah, almost June. Yeah.
So I guess the next thing that we have coming up is 3D Printopia?
No, Murph.
No.
Murph.
Oh, is it real? Oh, wait.
Murph is in
I know, but I was thinking we already had
3 weeks.
Oh, which Rocky Mountain just happened. That's right.
Yeah, Rocky Mountain just happened. Events, I'm going to be at Murph in the later middle part of June, and then Open Sauce. Since Open Sauce is just down the street.
Oh, cool.
I'm going to go over to Open Sauce for, I don't know if I'm going to go for every day, but I'm going to go over there. I bought the cheap or the less expensive ticket on the last day of the event last year. We're not presenting. Last year we were there with the Voron design booth. We're not doing that this year, so I'll be over
at Open
just
Sauce
as an attendee.
I would love to go to Open Sauce. There's a lot of things I love. It feels kind of lonely over here on this side. Everything else happens, I feel, on the other side. Is it just me, chat? Or the East Coasters feel like we're just kind of secluded over here? A lot of the 3D stuff, a lot of the sculpting stuff, the programming software stuff, like all of that tends to happen, right? West Coasters feel that way too. I love how many more kids are showing up to these events too. I feel like every time we go, there's more of the kiddos, more of the families are showing up. That's really inspiring. Something
interesting that I've found in visiting different things. So you have your maker fairs and your RepRap festivals and your trade shows. When you go to a maker fair, you get a lot more kids and it's a whole different interaction. We've done like Orange County Maker Fair, which I'll be at again in September. That's just such a blast because they're the number of kids and other folks who aren't familiar with 3D printing that come into the booth. And like when you're at a maker fair, your expectation of when you're talking to folks is like you're starting explaining 3D printing at the beginning, where at a RepRap festival, it's most people are aware and you're talking about specifics or more higher level topics at a maker fair. So, but the kid interactions and I think I said maker fair mistakenly a moment ago, but the kid interactions at maker fairs are the best. I mean, I guess they are more well established, right? Maker fairs have been around, right? That's a good point. You get more of the general population that aren't necessarily even they're interested in making or whatever, and it's just a fun thing to go to, where you have to be looking for a RepRap festival or similar to go to. People definitely know what they are. They've been well established. They've been around for a long time. I feel like the content is out there. People have heard of that. So I feel like once 3D Printopia or whatever, if anyone else changes the names too, becomes more tangible to the rest of the general population, that will definitely be grabbing more attention and bringing in new printers constantly. Do you have any other like big projects on the horizon? Have any guests or travels or anything that you want to share with us? Anything that you're looking forward to? We might have a guest here. Do we have a guest? We have another guest. Here. Did you guys know this was a double whammy tonight? We're going to have 2 guests on the show, or is it 3? Am I pushing my luck? I'm going to have to step aside because. Okay. Here, watch. Here we go. I just saw the TIE fighters on his shirt too, chat. There he is. Hey, bud. There he is. Oscar. So tell us, Oscar, is Orange Cat Energy real? 100%. Yeah. Everyone Sunday say hi, Oscar. Hey, bud. There you go. He came in at the end. He could be like, he's like, Dad, enough cookie talk. Stop it. Let's go. We got to go do stuff. Where's Felix? Where is Felix? I don't know. Probably right behind him. Really,
Snoozing.
Oscar has turned into, he likes this spot on the chair.
Oh, really?
Yep.
He's not
Yep.
scarred.
He likes
He's
the chair.
okay.
That's
Okay.
yeah. He's not scarred. He's
He's
made
a
that
brave
jump a few
boy.
times since.
Okay. There you go. Yeah, don't let the fear get a hold of you. He's like, I'm gonna go in there and I'm gonna dominate. Exposure therapy. He's gonna get in there and do it until he's great at it. I love that. I love that kind of an attitude there, Oscar. Good for you, bud. Well, Steve, you want to tell the people where they can find you if they want to hang out with you and build stuff and make stuff and talk more cats and cookies and stuff?
Yeah, it's Steve Builds on YouTube. I think it's Steve_builds on Blue Sky. Should be able to find
Okay.
me there. I still have an account on Twitter. I don't really post new stuff there. I'll respond to things, but any
Same.
new things end up going on.
Thank you.
Mostly YouTube.
Mostly YouTube. I do have all of my stuff posted for you down below if you guys want to check out any of my other socials. If you guys want to check out Steve Builds and Oscar and Felix, then you can check them out. I've got Steve's YouTube over there, and I believe over on his YouTube he'll have his Discord and things like that. So if you guys want to join into the community and give back to the community and hang out with another bunch of like-minded makers and creators like Steve, you guys can do so because they have a really awesome community going on over there. Thank you from the bottom of my little Sithy heart. So Steve, thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight, and Oscar also. Thank you for showing up, friend. But
thank
you
you
guys,
for having me.
Anytime,
And I
friend.
apologize
Hey,
for
anytime.
stuttering video. This has been distracting to me.
Hey, it happens. We're not worried about it. It works perfectly too until the moment that you need it to work perfectly. And then it's like, no, I'm good. It steps down. You're like, that's fine. Thanks for the betrayal. You guys, thank you for all that you do. I will see you all on the other side of this raid. Until I see you guys again, take care of yourselves. Take care of those around you. As always, may the force be with you. And I will see you all very, very soon. See ya.
See ya.